Good morning, students. Welcome to the online classes by the Department of English. I am Jisha Menon and today I am going to deal with the topic tenses. Well, I am sure all of you are familiar with the term tense. What does the word tense in English grammar indicate? Tense is related to time. In any sentence, there will be a subject and a verb. Now, subject tells us about the performer of the action and verb tells us about the action. The action is denoted by the verb. Now, tense tells us when the action takes place. Say for example, if we have a timeline, see I have drawn the timeline here. Imagine this is the timeline. We have now, which means the present. We have the past, which means whatever happened before now, that is past. And whatever is going to happen after now, it is the future. So, the timeline tells us that there is a past, there is present, and there is future. So, tenses in English grammar are 3 in number. That is past tense, present tense, and future tense. Past tense tells us about the actions that happened in the past. Present tense tells us about the actions that happen or that are happening in the present, and future tense tells us about the actions that are going to take place in the future. Now, each tense is again subdivided into simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous, which means past tense has got 4 sub-varieties, present tense has got 4 varieties, and future tense also is divided into 4. So, I have told you tense speaks about the time of action in a sentence. Did the action take place, or is the action taking place, or is the action going to happen? All these things are told to us by the tenses. It's a very common topic from your lower classes. You are studying tenses, and you know the study of tenses is very, very integral because it helps you to write sentences correctly, to use the sentences correctly. So today let's deal with the first tense, and it is present tense. Let me start with present tense because it's easy for us to understand the actions that take place in the present. So let me go on to the present tense, and first kind of present tense is simple present, or we call it present simple. Both ways it is right, present simple or simple present. Now let's just see, I have written many examples on the board. I have written down what actions are represented by simple present tense. Let us have a look at the first thing. Simple present tense is used to speak about general actions or to give out a general statement. We often use simple present tense. Example, I live in MYSURU. Now, which is the verb here? The verb in this sentence is live. It's a statement. At present, where do I live? I live in MYSURU. It's a general statement. Now see the next example. He works at a bank. So it speaks about the subject he and the statement tells that his job is at a bank. He works at a bank. Now see the next thing, routines. Routines or habitual actions are often represented using simple present tense. For example, I brush my teeth daily. See, this is the verb here, brush. So brushing your teeth is a habitual action, it's routine. Morning as you get up, you brush your teeth. So you won't say I brushed my teeth yesterday or I am brushing my teeth right now. See, if you want to be specific about brushing your teeth at that moment, you can use I am brushing my teeth. Apart from that, if you just want to make a general statement about your routine actions, you have to use simple present tense. So you would say I brush my teeth daily. Now see the next example. She wakes up at 6 a.m. So when does she wake up? It's a habit for her to wake up at 6 a.m. Now, the next use of simple present tense is to represent facts or to represent universal truths. Say for example, the sun rises in the east. Just to say it's a universal fact, we all know. Where does the sun rise? The sun rises in the east. So we will not use past tense or future tense. Since it is a universal truth, we have to use simple present tense to indicate that the sun rises in the east or the earth rotates on its axis. So these are all scientific truths. Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India. That's a fact. So facts and universal truths are represented using simple present tense. That is another use of this. Now see the next one, schedules. And I have given the example, our class begins at 10 a.m. Now it's about the class timings. When does a class begin? It's a schedule. There is already a fixed timing for that. And the schedule says that the class begins at 10 a.m. Because we are just making again a general statement about the schedules. Or you can say the flight departs at 11 o'clock. The flight departs at 11 o'clock. That's the schedule. It's fixed. The time is fixed. See the next use of that, frequency. He always walks to the temple. See, this word always tells us about the frequency of the action. Always, whenever he wants to go to the temple, whenever he is going to the temple, how does he go? He walks. It's always better to use, or it is right to use simple present tense for that. He always walks to the temple. So, we have seen the use of simple present tense to speak about general actions, to speak about permanent actions, to speak about routines and habitual actions, to represent universal truths or facts. Now, schedules and frequency, we use simple present tense. And sometimes simple present tense is also used in narratives. Say for example, you must have come across stories where present tense is used, simple present tense is used to narrate an incident. For example, Rani is my neighbor. She is a very beautiful girl. She likes each and every human being. So she is a humanist. She loves to play with children. She is very good at studies. So when you narrate a story, if you want to make use of present tense, that also will help you in presenting the matters in a better way. So sometimes you find present tense, especially simple present tense, being used in narratives. Okay. Now, You have already learnt about verbs. You have already learnt about subject and verb agreement. I think Mr. Prem Ashwin Kumar has given the lesson on subject verb agreement. So it's always very clear to us when the subject used in the sentences I, you, we or they, or any plural subject, or this, if the subject is plural, it usually takes the plural form of the verb. That means I work, we work, you work, they work. And if the subject is singular like he, she, it or the child, etc., it takes in the singular form of the verb, that is works. We will not say he work. The statement has to be made like this: he works, she works, it works. See, it can represent an object. Say for example, it can refer to a clock. It works means the clock works. So these are the uses of simple present tense. Now one more thing is there, sometimes simple present tense is also used to represent future actions. See this sentence. You can look at this sentence, I go to Bangalore tomorrow. When do you go to Bangalore? Tomorrow. What does it mean? It's a future action. But at times, simple present tense is also used to represent future actions. It's very clear that if you simply say, I go to Bangalore, we do not know when the action is taking place, or we assume that the action takes place in the present. But since tomorrow is already mentioned, we know this action will happen in the future, and simple present tense is used to represent it. So when you want to just mention about the action that happens for a moment in the present, we use simple present tense. So for example, I teach you. You listen to me. What do I do now at present? I teach. At the moment of speaking, I teach you. Okay? So you listen to me. These are the uses of simple present tense. So hope simple present tense and its usage is clear to you. Now let us move on to the next tense, that is present continuous or present progressive. So you all know, what do you mean by continuous? An action that is continuing. So present progressive tense or present continuous tense is used to represent actions which are continuing for some time in the present. Say for example, we are going to the temple. What does this mean? When you say we are going to the temple, it means the action of going to the temple is in progress. At the moment of speaking, you are going. So, to speak about an action that continuously happens in the present, we use this tense. Now there are some other uses also. Say for example, if you just want to state about a temporary action, you can use this tense. Say for example, I am reading Harry Potter's first book. What does it mean? When you say I am reading, the verb part is indicated by am reading. The verb is indicated by am reading. And see, earlier when we were speaking about present simple, the base form of the verb was used. Here, there is an auxiliary verb used in addition to that, and ing form of the original verb is used, or principal verb is used. I am reading Harry Potter's first book means, it doesn't mean that you are reading Harry Potter's first book all 24 hours. It means you might have read some part of it in the morning, you might be reading some in the evening, you may be reading some later. But ultimately, you have not done with the book. You are in the process of reading. It's a temporary action, we assume. Now see the next example. The earth is getting warmer. See, this indicates a change that is happening, a continuous change. Day by day, we find the temperature going up. So, the earth is getting warmer. The price of petrol is going up day by day. It's a change that is happening. It's a continuous process. So, we use present progressive or present continuous to represent that. Now, see, I am planning to buy a car. Just to look at this part, I am planning, along with I, only am can be used. And ing form of the verb plan is used. I am planning to buy a car. You are speaking about an action that is going to happen only in the future. But the plan is being made in the present and it's a continuous activity. And you just think about our class right now. I am teaching you. You are learning from me. So, learning and teaching in these sentences, they are continuing for some time. At the moment of speaking, I am teaching you. And again, teaching cannot be done in a moment. It is a continuous process. I am studying in first PUC. What does it mean? A year long you will be in first PUC, you will be learning it. So, it's a continuous activity. So, these are all the uses of present progressive or present continuous tense. And I have already told you about the verb part, am or is or are plus ing form of the verb. You can look at these examples. When I use I as the subject, I have to use am plus ing form of the verb read. When I have used the earth is singular. So, I have to use is. Similarly, when we use a plural subject or when you use second person you, we have to use are. So, the verb part is represented in present progressive in this way. Am, is, are plus ing form of the verb. Am reading, is getting, am planning, are going, etc. Okay. Now, let us just analyze some differences between the first two tenses that we have discussed. You think about simple present tense. See, simple present tense is often used to represent verbs of perception like see, hear and smell. We often say, I see you. I am seeing you is not right because the action is not deliberate. Similarly, I hear you. I am hearing you. When you say, I am hearing you, that shows that your action is deliberate. So, generally we have to say, I hear you. I see you. I smell the fragrance of the rose flower. Again, verbs of emotions are usually expressed using simple present tense. We won't use them in continuous. I want to be with you. We won't say I am wanting to be with you. And similarly, I love you, not I am loving you. Probably the action is continuous, but you usually say I love you, not I am loving you. And I like this book and I am liking this book is wrong. Okay? So, there are certain verbs which have to be used in simple present tense rather than being used in continuous. Now, let us move on to the next tense, present perfect. So, present perfect tense. This is a tense that we use to describe about the actions that are just completed. The actions are completed, but probably you finished it just 5 minutes ago or 2 minutes ago, or the effect of those actions are still felt in the present. Say for example, I have washed the car. See this example, I have washed the car. This represents the tense. This indicates the verb part. Have washed. We have used have because the subject is I. Now, what does the sentence mean, I have washed the car? The sentence, I have washed the car means that washing of the car is over. The action is just completed. But the effect of the action is in the present. Probably the car looks shiny, the car looks clean, you need not wash it again. These are all the effects in the present. Now, I have lost my book. So when you say I have lost my book, it means that the book is lost. Even in the present, I have not got the book. So probably I will have to pay a fine if it is taken from the library, or I have to search for the book again. So the book is lost, losing the book is over, but even in the present, you feel the effect of that action. Now, she has lived here for 5 years. What does it mean? She has lived here for 5 years means that for the past 5 years, she was living here, and even at the moment of speaking, she lives here. So, present perfect tense is also used to describe the actions that began in the past and that continue up to the moment of speaking. You can just see this tells us 5 years tells us that 5 years she was living here, and even at the moment of speaking she is here. Okay, so she has lived here for 5 years means that she was here, even now she is here. So an action that began in the past but that continues up to the present. Such actions are indicated by using present perfect tense. Now see this example, Reena has finished her homework. What does it mean? It means that the homework is done with. So when has she completed her homework? Time is not mentioned. Time is not mentioned. She has completed her homework probably just half an hour ago or 5 minutes back. She has completed her homework. And the effect is that now she can sit and relax. Now she won't be scolded by the teacher. Okay. So these are the uses of present perfect tense. Now look at the verb part. How do we represent present perfect tense? Has or have plus PP of the verb. When you say PP, when I say PP, it means past participle form of the verb, or we can call it as V3, verb 3. Now already in the lessons given on verbs, it has been mentioned verb has got 3 forms. Say for example, go, went, gone, walk, walked, walked. And here, when I say go or walk, it means the verb in its base form, verb in its present tense form. Now, second verb here, went, and here walked. This is the past tense form of the verb. And this is gone and walked. They are the past participle forms of the verbs. So past participle forms of the verbs are used with has or have to represent present perfect tense. Okay, so let's rewind. When do we use present perfect tense? We use present perfect tense when we want to speak about an action that is just finished. As in the example, I have just completed my homework, or I have washed the car. Or sometimes to represent actions that began in the past and continues up to the moment of speaking in the present. As in the example, I have lived in MYSURU for 12 years. So now let's move on to the next tense, present perfect continuous tense. Before that, let me put that in timeline. See if this is now. And present perfect means an action that began here. Say for example, she has lived here for 5 years. So she started living here, and even to this moment she is living in MYSURU. So an action that began in the past that continues up to the present. Or it is used to represent an action that is just over. Now let's move on to the next tense, present perfect continuous. So see the example here. Rahul has been waiting to see the dentist for 2 hours. Rahul has been waiting to see the dentist for 2 hours. See, this is the verb. This indicates the tense. Has been waiting. Okay? Now, what does this sentence mean? Imagine this is now and it is 7 p.m. right now. Just keep it in mind, it's 7 p.m. now. 2 hours, Rahul was waiting with the dentist, which means Rahul came to the dentist at 5 p.m. He was sitting there up to 7 p.m. that is to the moment of speaking. It means the process of waiting was continuing up to the present, though it started in the past. Okay? So, present perfect progressive is a tense used to represent actions that began in the past, that was continuing in the past up to the moment of speaking. So, we know the duration for 2 hours. This tells us about the duration that he has waited. He has been waiting. He has not seen the dentist yet. Still he is in waiting. Now see the next example. It has been raining since morning. What does it mean? The action of raining started long back. In the morning it started. It has been continuing, and even at this moment of speaking, even in the present, this continues. It is raining. So an action that began in the past, that was continuing in the past up to the moment of speaking is represented using present perfect continuous tense. Now see the next. She has been studying for 1 hour. What does it mean? How long has she studied? 1 hour. Is the study over? No. At the moment of speaking, what is she doing? She is studying. When did she start her study? 1 hour back. So which means her study started 1 hour earlier. It was continuing, and even at this moment, when I give you this example, the process of studying, it is continuing. Now just look at the verb part. How is the verb indicated in these examples? Have or has plus been plus ing form of the verb. See here Rahul, a singular subject, so we have used has, and here I have used both singular subjects here, we have used has. Now if you want to have a plural subject, I can use they or I or children, students, etc. Any plural subject would do. I have been teaching for 30 minutes. Just see the example. I have been teaching for 30 minutes. See here, have been teaching. Okay, since I is used, a plural subject is used, I have to use have. So, has or have plus been. Been is the past participle form of the verb be. Which are the present tense form of be? Is, are, was, were, and am. So, these are the 3 present tense forms, and these are the past forms of be. Okay, so present tense forms, past tense forms, and its past participle form is mentioned by using the term been. So here have or has plus past participle form of the verb be, that is been, and then ing form of the principal verb. See, in this sentence the principal verb is wait, ing form is used. Here teach is the principal verb, ing form of the principal verb teach is used. So this is have or has plus been plus ing form of the verb constitutes the verb part in present perfect continuous tense. So today we have studied, we have learned present tense and its 4 kinds. See, present tense is divided into 4: simple present, present continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. So we have seen the definitions for each tense. We have seen where we use these tenses. We have seen some of the examples as well. So now, dear students, in the next class we'll deal with the past tense and the future tense. Thank you.